Welcome to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you are ready to find your inner magic, develop great habits, and a rock steady mindset to feel confident, comfortable, and fit in your body, you are in the right place. I am Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'll be giving you weekly doses of health, fitness, and life tips sprinkled with humor and real talk. If you're ready to be consistent without the stress of perfection, magic makers, it's time to slip into your favorite pair of PJs, grab some coffee, kick back, and listen to today's show. This week's iTunes review is brought to you by ML Martel. She writes, 5 stars. Kim is more than just knowledgeable in just health and fitness. She is supportive, reassuring, and on the level. She gives it to you straight, just the way most people need it. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate that review. And you too can review Fit Girl Magic Podcast. Just go to iTunes or wherever you subscribe to this show and just leave me a 5-star review. I love them. I take them to heart. I just want to make sure that I'm bringing you the best stuff. So thank you so much for all of you who have left me a review so far. I can't wait to highlight you. Hey, Magic Makers. Welcome back to part 2 of my Metabolism Reset series. So if you listened to the episode about 2 weeks ago, and I'll link it in the show notes, I called out what it's like to have a tired AF metabolism, what it is, and how do you know if you do have a tired AF metabolism. Also, there's a link in the show notes to take a quiz. And so, before we move on to the next, most people think like, oh, my metabolism's tired. The next move is like another round of a smoothie detox or some sad salad or, extra cardio or praying to the scale gods. The next move here is the reverse diet. And that's what we're going to talk about here. And I want to unpack what the hell it is, how to do it, and what comes after. So, a reverse diet is something I wish I heard of when I was in the throes of my hardcore dieting era. Because what a reverse diet is that it's kind of an oxymoron. It is, how do you back out of a diet? I went into a severe caloric deficit and I just was told, just go back to eating the way you were. But hindsight is always 2020. The beauty and the blessing and the curse about fitness is that we're always evolving. We're always learning. Is that the thing that I should have done coming out of kind of being in such a severe caloric deficit is to have a system to come out of it, not just go back to what I was eating 2 weeks ago, right? So it is a structure and it's a strategic way of bringing your calories up after chronically dieting. So when you think about rehab for your metabolism, like if this was physical therapy, right? If I hurt my shoulder, I wouldn't just go back to the gym and start doing overhead presses with 50 pounds. I would go to physical therapy. They would give me some stim and all the other stuff to help me rehab my shoulder. So this is rehab for your metabolism. So instead of us thinking about always cutting, always being on a diet, always pulling, this is how do we gradually increase food into our system so that we start to reignite the metabolism. We restore our energy, we support our hormones, and we give our bodies a freaking break. The break that is like, Lord Jesus, please give me the break. So this is not letting go, it's leveling up. Because one of the things I see with a lot of the ladies who start work with me is that they've been under eating for so long, but they don't even realize how low calories they've been eating because they've just been eating that way. Guilty as charged, right? I want you always to know that I'm never throwing shade. I'm telling you where I was. I'm telling you I was that girl. I'm telling you that I had to reverse diet. I was reverse dieting last year because I didn't realize how low of a calorie I was eating because yes, everyone that I meet is eating healthy foods. 90% of the women who come to me, they're not like, oh, well, last night we had McDonald's and then we went to Taco Bell and then we were at Chick-fil-A. Most of the women who come to me are that, right? They're like, I had a yogurt and an apple for breakfast. I had a smoothie and a protein bar, right? And then I had dinner. And then, because I underate all day long, I, ate off my kid's plate. or I went into the pantry and just like went ham on some almonds, right? Or rice cakes. So I don't want you to think that this is judgment. I want you to be like, okay, she gets me. She knows, she's been there, right? This is pure. I've been there. It's in my rear view, and I want you to know that it's possible.
Hey, Magic Makers, real quick before we dive in, can we talk about your metabolism for a second? If you feel like your body has been giving you the finger lately, you are not crazy and you definitely are not broken. You might have a metabolism that is tired AF. I created a fun quiz to help you figure out exactly what's going on with your metabolism and what the heck to do about it. You know, it could be, are you eating too little? Overtraining? Maybe doing the right things and still feeling stuck? This quiz will call it out. It only takes a few minutes and you will get a custom result that is spooky spot on. So if you're ready to stop throwing spaghetti against the wall and finally figure out how to eat, train, and feel good again, go take the quiz like right frickin' now. Link is in the show notes. Let's figure out how your metabolism is holding you back and how to get out of diet jail. So back to the show.
So what we're trying to do is gradually raise our metabolism. So I want you to think about if you ever took high school science. We all took high school science. And I remember there was to lower the boiling point, we used to put these chips in and it would not make things boil over. And so what we did on our diet is we put those boiling chips in and we kept our metabolism here, right? So what I'm trying to do when this reverse diet is take those boiling chips out of your metabolism so your metabolism slowly starts to raise and slowly goes back to what the traditional boiling point is. And so metabolic adaptation is real. So if I don't know if you remember the TV show The Biggest Loser, I'm not sure if it's still on anymore. But anyway, so in 2016, the journal Obesity, they did a study of the Biggest Losers contestants, and they were still burning 500 calories fewer per day 6 years after the show, right? So they went on that extreme diet, extreme exercise, and when they did they did a study on them. So 6 years after the show ended, they were still burning 500 calories fewer because of the intense dieting, intense exercise that they were doing. And so the Journal of Sports Nutrition found that reverse dieting can boost your metabolic rate by 15% without significant fat gain. And I know that I'm going to want you to repeat that because so many people, that's their biggest fear. Like, if I eat more food, am I going to gain more weight? And the answer is yes and no. The answer is yes in the short term, but no in the long term, because there is a method to the madness. And most people saw their metabolic rate boost by 15%. So as long as there is a plan, so as long as it's not like, oh, I'm going to bake it in this number up. If you're at 1,200 calories, I'm not going to throw 2,000 calories at you. It's going to be a slow increase. And there's going to be a method to the madness, right? There's not just going to be like, oh, eat what you want, right? There is going to be a method to the madness. And so in that, the reverse dieting can boost your metabolism by 15%. And so if I'm someone who was in The Biggest Loser and I'm burning 500 calories less, that 15%, I want that. I need that, especially for us ladies over 40, we're losing muscle. Muscle is our built-in metabolism fuel. And if we have less muscle on our body, that means we are going to be burning less calories just by pure muscle loss. So overall, more food, better hormones, you finally get the results you want without hating your life. Who's in? All right, let's chug along. So what the hell is metabolic adaptation? And so when I first kind of dove down this whole hormone rabbit trail, one of my mentors, he's written a few books about it, and he talks about metabolic compensation, right? So it's like That's metabolic adaptation. If I am no longer giving my metabolism what it needs, my metabolism compensates, right? Our body is so smart. So our body's like, oh, I'm not getting any food. So it's going to start to like find other sources. If our body's no longer making, our ovaries are no longer making estrogen, our body's like, well, you know what? I'm going to make it out of body fat, right? So there's like, our body is always trying to figure out how do we keep level? How do we keep the systems running, even if I have to cobble something together? So when we start eating lower and lower and lower and lower calories, right, we're burning fewer calories at rest. It's slowing down our digestion, bumping up our cravings like nobody's business. And it's taking all the energy, it's taking our energy and it's taking our sex hormones. Because as, you know, kind of in our hierarchy of needs, our bodies kind of like scan like what's going on? Like what's going on? What does your body need? And if I am like, I have low energy, I'm hungry, your body's like, oh, one, you're not going to be strong enough to have a healthy baby. If I did have a healthy baby, I'm not going to be strong enough to feed said baby. So it's going to slow down my sex hormones. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, our body thinks a woman's main job in life is to have a baby. Have a baby and care for that baby. That is just how our bodies have evolved over the thousands of years. And that's what our bodies think it should do. Who knows, you know, light years from now, what, you know, our bodies will turn into. But right now, that is where we are. So what you say is like, oh, my metabolism broken, it's slow, it's this, is that. No, we've just literally been punching it in the face and starving it. And so you're not broken, you're just efficient. You're efficient at what you've been feeding it. You're efficient at what you've been doing. But now is the way to, how do we shift out of it? How do we move into a spot where we don't no longer in this metabolic compensation, this metabolic adaptation? So that's why the reverse diet. So let me be clear, right? Under eating, over exercising for years is not the flex that we want, you know, and I get it, because for so many of us guilty, it's tied to who we are. You know, for so many years, I had the like, you know, I'm a fitness competitor and I had those blinders on, and it was like, this is what I didn't eat, brought my own shit everywhere. And, you know, people were kind of nervous about like, like what's Kim going to shit on my, you know, shit on when she comes to my house. And I was that girl, right? And so like, thank you for continuing to invite me to things. But I'm not that person anymore. And I don't want you to be that person anymore. Like, life's too fucking short. I want you to be able to go to a friend's house for dinner and not freak out and not be like, oh my God, I'm going to have to eat before I go. Like, no, we're not that girl anymore. Now, if you know that that person is a bad cook, yeah, eat before you go. If you know that person who like always like doesn't have good portion size, yeah, eat before you go. But you're not eating before you go because you're afraid of what they're going to serve. Second, you know, I want you to be the mom who sits down and has ice cream with their kid. Be the mom that has pizza on Friday nights with the family, or Chinese, or whatever your, for years, my husband and I, it was Thai or Chinese for years. That was our Friday night. And I want you to be that. I want you to be that person. I want you to be that person. If you're in the dating world, I want you to go out on a date and not be the person who's like, can I have that on the side? Can I do this? Unless that's who you are. Because I'm the on the side girl. Or can you explain how that is prepared? I am that girl. But yeah, so we want to reverse diet, because if you spent years under eating and over exercising, now's the time to start to give our body permission to like restart some of the systems that it's been like kind of putting on like the low burner, right? You know, like you put something in your stove for simmer or warm, what have you. So reverse dieting gives your body permission to recover, to rebuild muscle, to burn more at rest, and to give you your mood and your energy back. Now I know our mood can be totally affected by perimenopause. I feel that it's totally possible for that to happen. But for lots of us, you know, our mood is in the shitter because we're just starved. We're absolutely starved. And so because your body is built like, you know, because your body has been in this kind of like sit back and chill mode, we're teaching it like it's okay, right? We've taught it you can burn fewer calories, right? We've taught it that like move less. We've taught it, non-exercise activity. We taught it to downshift the hormones. And so now we're starting to say, this isn't who we are anymore, right? This isn't what we want to be. You can finally start acting like you again. All right. So what exactly is a reverse diet? And so for most people, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. So we were like, what exactly is a reverse diet? So for most people, it's a period. I'm gonna break it down to like five steps. One, we got to know where we start. So that means we're going to start tracking our food so that we understand how many calories we are actually eating, so that we can start a strategic rebuild, so that there's none of this like, closing our eyes and guessing. And every week, you're going to slowly start to bump your calories up by 50 to 100. And, this is every 1 to 2 weeks, 50 to 100. And we're going to start with protein and vegetables is like kind of like where the main bulk of your calories come. And then you're going to add in, good fats. You're going to add in the carbs. And it's just going to be a slow burn so that we don't freak out. And as you're doing this, you're going to monitor more about biofeedback than that scale. And ideally, I would love for you to not get on that scale. Ideally, I would love for you to not get on that scale, because when I start eating more, fiber, I start eating more like more carbs than I might have been eating. Carbs chase water. So for every 2 grams of carbs you eat, there's going to be a gram of water. And so you're going to see that scale go up. And then you got to freak out. And then you're like, this is bullshit. And then you're going to go back to whatever you were doing or find something else. So I want you to monitor more biofeedback. How's your sleep? Am I getting more hours? Am I getting more quality sleep? Am I falling asleep faster? Is it more restful? Is it deeper? Right. And, you can do that just by, observation, or if you're wearing, an Oura Ring or a Fitbit or a Whoop or any other, an Apple Watch, any other device. I'm not saying you have to use a device. I'm saying like, just tune in with yourself. Second, hunger, right? Am I hungry? Can I go 3 hours without needing a meal? Am I find myself eating by the clock, or am I eating because I'm hungry, right? My mood. Am I wanting to flip a table every single day, or is it now once every other day? Energy. Am I needing that 4 p.m. pick me up? Am I, no longer needing that like, second, third, fourth cup of coffee? And are my cravings, right? Am I like craving like a mofo? Or have I been able to like, see that subside a little bit? These are all indications that what you're doing is working. All indications. You're also going to lift heavy shit. Let's say goodbye to the HIIT marathons. And in fact, during a reverse, I'd love for you to break up with cardio. And if you are going to do cardio, leave it to like 1 or 2 days a week. And it's not this like slugfest. It's like, like a nice zone 2 where it's like, if you're a runner, it's like a run that like you could go out and like, I could do this all day. Or you're, on the elliptical or the spike bike. And it's not like, I need to go to the soul crushing class. Like, it's just like, you're out for a nice bike ride with your family. But you're going to focus more on lifting. You're going to be lifting somewhere between 3 to 4 times a week. In my Fit Girl Magic Society is my monthly membership. I give the ladies a monthly workout, and it's a 3-day workout. We work depending on the month. It's an upper body, lower body, and a total body, and we do different types of splits. But it's really designed to help you get in and out of the office, in and out of the gym in about 45 minutes or less. That is my my ultimate goal. That's what I try to help my ladies do. And then finally, like, we got to start ditching this diet mindset, right? Eating more does not mean bad, right? It's being strategic. It's rebuilding yourself. And yeah, it's uncomfortable as fuck, especially if food has been the enemy, especially if you use this as a form of control, especially if you are trying to get this perfect, because you're not going to get this perfect. And, the best example I can use is that if you are a mom, or we've all seen children, if you're not a mom, we've all seen children take those first few steps, right? And they walk like drunken sailors, and you see them kind of wibble and wobble all over the place. And then they fall down. And then you're like, oh, that's okay, little one. We'll try again. We don't have that same compassion with us when we try to do something different. We're like, you fucking suck. Like, what? You can't nail this diet in like 24 hours? Who are you? Like, damn. Now, I will admit that my inner critic is an ex-gang member. Sometimes she throws a knife on me. It's fine. We've made peace. But that's how you treat yourself. It's like, potty training. If your kid was potty training and your kid had an accident, you'd be like, fucking loser. No, you'd be like, okay, let's go change your pants. So I want you to say the same thing to yourself. Like, okay, I'm going to change my pants because I peed them, I pooped them, whatever you did. And then I'm going to try again. And I want you to do that because I get it. For decades, diet culture told us I had to nail everything. The perfectionist in me was like, every single box has to be checked or my results are shit. That mindset has to go if you want real sustainable change. What we're working towards is coming up with what I call my Fit Girl Magic formula. We are coming up with habits that are sustainable. We're coming up with things that can turn it into a repeatable routine that give you consistency. When I put those three things together, that is results, right? And this is where I see everyone go wrong. I have habits that are not sustainable. Your habits are only sustainable when I'm home. I go on vacation, boom, everything blows up, right? I don't have any habits that I can translate to vacation, or I have one or two habits, or you have the mindset, I'm on vacation, so fuck it, YOLO. I promised myself I would never say that, but I apologize. But that's how you're thinking, right? But then it's like, or your routine gets disrupted because your routine is so tight. It's so wired that, like, if the gym doesn't have all the right equipment, my God, what do I do? I can't work out then. It's a sign, right? So it's like, what I do with my clients, what I'm trying to do for you listeners, is that let's have fluidity, right? So that our routine, it has like, let me use a sports metaphor. Like, so there is varsity, right? And then there's junior varsity. Let's create habits that we have. These are our varsity habits so that, like, when I'm home, boom, I'm cooking with gas. When I'm busy, I'm home, everything is just boom, I'm getting it done. Then we have the JV. And that is like, oh, okay, I'm at a busy season in my life. All right. I'm traveling. All right. Like, we have things that we can do that still keep us on that healthy path. It might not look like the varsity, but there is a subset of the habits that I know that I'm able to take with me when traveling or do in a busy season. And that's where I really want you all to think about, like, the season of life that you're in, because over the last few months, the season I've been since for the last 3 months, I've traveled at least 2 weeks out of every month for the last 3 months. And so my routine has been a little hectic, and I've been trying to do something new. And I literally was like, girlfriend, give yourself some bleeping grace. You got to give yourself some grace, because just as I start to do something, then I start my varsity habits. I got to pull it back to the JV because I'm traveling. Varsity habits, pull it back because I'm traveling again, going JV. And so I had to, like, check myself before I wreck myself. And I want you to say the same thing, right? As, for many people, I have clients who have busy seasons at work. They're accountants, right? So it's like April 15th, they're like, oh, that day can't come soon enough, because once we all get our tax forms at the end of January, beginning of February, they're on, like, game on until the end of April for many of them. And same thing for you, but I also have teachers who, like, they're on their game until, May, June, and then they have, June, July, and August for like them. And I want you to really think about what is your season and honor your season. And, over the next few weeks, as I break down like the different seasons of dieting, I want you to really think to yourself, wow, yeah, okay. I don't like I don't want everyone to be in a fat loss phase for like decades. Like that's not how your body's meant to be. Your body is meant to like ebb and flow. Right? Your body is meant to ebb and flow. And so how long would you stay in a reverse? You would say typically 8 to 16 weeks. Now, if you've been someone who's been like dieting since you can't remember the last time you've ever changed your nutrition, you can't remember the last time you worked, I'm going to say quote unquote dieting, it's going to be more like 16 weeks, right? Because if you've been living on that in that 1200 calorie bubble since the early 2000s or beyond, this ain't going to be a 30-day shred. This is going to be your comeback season, right? So give yourself the 8 to 16 weeks. And I shared this story before, and I can't even remember what podcast it was on, but there's a woman, there's this TV show, Lioness. And if you're into like thrillers, it's really, really, really good. But I digress. So anyway, there's this woman, and her name's Jill Wagner. And so prior to being on the show, she was this, a Hallmark actress. And they're not known for being like in shape, right? They're known for like sipping hot chocolate and wearing inappropriate footwear in a snowstorm. So she gets the role on the show Lioness. And Lioness is the premise is that they're CIA operatives, and Jill Wagner's character is an ex-military person. So she needs to be like in shape. So she spent 2 years, hear that again, 2 years working her tushy off. She ain't 25, okay? Spent 2 years working her ass off to build muscle. Now, for those of you who are like, oh my God, I want to build it. I got a vacation coming up at the end of the month. Can I lose 20 pounds? Can I put on 5 pounds of muscle? No. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to be real. No, that's what got us into this mess. Oh my God, I'm going on vacation in 2 weeks. I'm just going to have no wine, and I'm just going to have rice cakes and Diet Coke, and it's just going to be fine. I go on vacation, lose my shit, and then I come home and be like, why am I not losing the weight? Right? That is because we've lived these like high and lows. That shit stops right now. Okay. Are you with me? Because I know some of you might feel very seen. And because I know like when you call me on my shit, so I've been working with this woman, Kate, and I love and hate her because she calls me on my shit. Right. And that's what I need. I need someone to be like, girlfriend, like seriously. And, she doesn't hurt my feelings, but she just literally is like, she throws my shit in my face. All the shit that I throw back at her, she throws it in my face. And I'm like, damn, girl, stop throwing my shit in my face. But I digress. So I want you to really think to yourself, you've listened thus far to the podcast. And so something tells me you're like, girl, how did you know? Right? How did you know? And because I do, like, I know what it's like because I ate the same way for a fucking decade. And then when I was told that I needed to eat more, I was told that like, yeah, was I eating protein? Absolutely. But I needed to really focus in on quality protein. I needed to pull out dairy. I needed to pull out gluten. And this was not because it was the thing to do. It was the thing to do for me because I was trying to manage more inflammation. So it was like, I had to figure out like, oh, what does my breakfast look like? Because I typically ate cottage cheese every day for breakfast. Okay, well, what is it now? Like, can I find a good vegan protein powder that doesn't taste like ass? So it was, I get what it's like to be like, okay, I have to learn how to walk again. So I understand that 100%. But here's where I had to have patience with myself. And I had zero patience. I had the patience of freaking that. And so I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that you're not the only person who feels like they are out on this island, feels like they woke up when they turn 40, 45, 50, and it feels like their body is just giving them the finger, punching them in the face, and just laughing at all of their attempts. Because if that's you, you got to do something different. I read a book years ago, and it said that if I keep arguing for my limitations, I will keep them. Right. And I keep seeing that, someone was like, well, Kim, I just can't go for a walk in the afternoon. I have so many errands to run, and oh my God, I got to pick up my kids, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And I'm like, okay, great. But where can we fit it in? Right? Is there somewhere where we can get 10 minutes of your time? And I'm not saying you got to go for a 9-mile hike out in the woods and like then meditate for 30 minutes like a Buddha. I'm like, give me 10 minutes. And I get it because, I challenge myself to go out for a 10-minute walk. And I challenged myself in October, and I even continued it through the freaking New England winter. And trust me, there was only 3 days that I didn't go out for a walk because it was literally like butt ass cold. Like it was just like, it was negative something. I'm like, you know what? I am not like that. Just no. I just had to say no. And there's also been times that it's been pouring rain that I didn't go outside. But I'd say 80% of the time, even when I was sitting here at my desk and I didn't wanna, like right now, after this, I record this pep podcast episode, I'm like, okay, Kim, record that podcast, get your ass outside. Get your ass outside. So I get what it's like when you're like, I don't want to do it, but it's 10 minutes. And I know everyone can find 10 minutes to just go outside and get something done. So, okay, enough about yelling at you guys. So let's go positive. Bright lights. How do you know when it's time to come out of your reverse diet? When we go back to our biomechanics. How is my sleep? If I'm starting to feel really good about my sleep, great. Am I getting more sleep? Ideally, I want you to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, right? Not in bed. I want you to literally know that you slept 7 to 8 hours, not that you were in bed for 7 to 8 hours. Okay. I want you to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I'll take 6.5. Your energy feels better. Your hunger and cravings are stable. You're maintaining your weight with food. And so initially I want you off the scale, but I would love for you to, if you weighed yourself once a week, once every other week, just to see how things are going, or take pictures, take measurements, right? You're no longer obsessing about food. You're no longer, be like, oh my God, okay, wait, can I have beets or can I have olives? Well, okay, kiwi or an apple. Like if you're no longer having those kind of thoughts, or you're able to go out for, pizza on Friday night, you're able to go out for breakfast with your family and be like, you know what? Yes, I am going to have the pancakes. Then we're in a good place. But if any of this sounds challenging for you, I'd love to have a conversation so that we can kind of walk you through this. Because if this sounds great, then congrats, you're metabolically ready to move on to the next phase. And if you're listening to all this and you're just like, this just sounds like, I just don't know, hit me up. I'm here for you. Hit me up. So what comes after this, right? So you spend 8 to 16 weeks doing this. What comes next? So I could do maintenance, right? So it's like, I could just say like, okay, we work with maintenance, and maintenance is where you're not gaining weight or you're not losing weight, and you're staying within, I always like to say you're staying within 3 to 5 pounds, like, because it's our bodies, we're not money, right? We can't balance to the penny. We're within 3 to 5 pounds of our established weight. And for most people, when I say your goal weight, I don't want it to be this like ethereal weight that you've had since you were 35. Like, let's blow that shit up, right? I want us to kind of have a weight that it's like, because for most of us, it's not about the scale. It's more about body composition. And we'll talk about that. But for maintenance, it's more about, I have a number on the scale that I'm able to keep based on the food that I'm eating, so that I'm not getting heavier. Like I'm not, so I'm making this number up. So if I was 100 pounds, I'm somewhere between between 100 and 105, and I'm somewhere between 95 and 100, right? So like that's like the range. So between 95 and 103 is the range that you are. Now, if I find myself getting to be like 106, 107, then I'm well out of my maintenance range. And then I kind of have to start to say, you know, I call them the extras. Like, what are some of the extras that we can start to pull out of your nutrition? Because we all like kind of creep up sometimes with some of the extras that we have. So that's the goal. Ultimate goal is to be able to stay at maintenance. And then you could enter in a fat loss phase. So it's like a small controlled deficit, and it's like 10 to 15% off of where you are, right? So again, making up these calories. So if we find that as we bump up our calories, we get to 2000 is our this is where our maintenance calories are. We say at 2000 and we decide that we're going to go into a fat loss phase. And it's like, okay, we're going to take off and we're going to be eating somewhere between 18 like 17 to 1900 calories every day in that fat loss phase. And then that fat loss phase isn't forever. That fat loss phase, again, it's going to be like a 12, 16 week. And then we're going to go back to maintenance. And then we're going to go into we're going to just stay at maintenance, or we can go into a build, or we can hang out at maintenance. And then, maybe that's when we're like, hey, I have a vacation. And the vacation is, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. It's like, you decide, like, we all have our kind of like vacation schedules, right? So it's like, typically my husband and I will go on vacation in February. We'll typically go on a vacation in the summer, like sometime July or August. So like, knowing that, I can be like, okay, February, I'm going on vacation. So what's 16 weeks before February? That's when I'm going to start my fat loss phase. So I'm not in these like big sprints to the finish line where it's like, I'm not going from like 2000 calories to 1200 calories overnight, right? That it's a slow, gradual, strategic process. And then I have a back way out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to, if I move myself down to like 1700 calories, I have a way to move myself back up into that 2000 calories. And then I stay there from February through, May, and then I'm like, knowing that in July I'm going to go on vacation, and then I slowly bring it down, right? So you see that there's an ebb and a flow. There's a plan. There's like panic. It is a plan. I liken it to like if you were a business, right? Businesses kind of know, if I was like a retail store, I know that like Christmas, right? So usually somewhere between October and like December 31st, like that's going to be my busy season, right? So it's like, okay, October, December, my busy season. Then it's like, for most retailers, like, they know that like June, July, and August are their slower seasons. So it's like looking at your year and knowing where your busy is. And, let's just face it, at this age, we kind of know our seasons, right? We know the busy seasons in our life. We know if you are someone who's got serious holiday parties, we know, okay, we're going to have to plan for that and be a little bit more strategic. What do my summers look like? Are they busy? Are my summers, more wide open if I was a teacher? If I have a kid who is in, team, dance and sports and whatever kids do these days, am I in that season? And trust me, it really, really is very eye-opening. So, I want you to think about there's a process, there's a system for all of this. And if you want a little bit more help and support, wondering like where the hell your metabolism, I have a free quiz called Is Your Metabolism Tired AF? And it's going to tell you if you're in shutdown, holding mode, or thriving mode. And, how I like to say it, if what you don't know, you don't know. And what you know, you can do something about. I also have a book on reverse dieting. It's quick, it's fun, it's full of good stuff, real talk and real strategy. So I put the links in the show notes. And if you are done, guessing, trying to figure it out, absolutely, let's book a call and let's kind of say, where do you need to go so that you no longer feel like you are the broken girl, you no longer feel like burnt the F out, and we can work together and see what we can do to help you, get out of this rut that you feel that you're in. So Magic Makers, thank you so much for listening to me. Next week, I'm going to be going a little bit deeper. I'm going deeper into what does a fat loss phase look like. But I want this series to kind of really help us kind of start to open the eyes that it's not this, I'm going to live in 1,200 calories for the rest of my life. All right, Magic Makers, stay magical, and I will talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you've made it this far, yay! I'm thinking you enjoyed the show. Let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. In order for me to keep sharing this message, do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. New episodes are available every Wednesday. The Fit Girl Magic podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools, and strategies that will help you make better decisions about your health. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much.